Julian and I became inseparable, a duo haunting the town's history. By day, we were lost in the musty scent of the town archives, our fingers tracing the faded ink of forgotten stories. By night, we walked the same streets, shrouded in a cinematic fog that seemed to whisper its own secrets. Julian was a living encyclopedia of Serenity Falls scandals. He'd gesture towards a grand, decaying mansion, its windows like hollow eyes, and recount tales of fortunes made and spectacularly lost, of love affairs that ended in tragedy. He made the town's history feel alive, breathing, and dangerous. The air between us was always thick with unspoken things, an electric current of shared understanding. We were both outsiders, in our own ways, trying to decipher the cryptic language of this place. We were looking for the same thing, a truth that everyone else seemed desperate to keep buried. The town was a puzzle, and we were two mismatched pieces that somehow fit together perfectly. One evening, buried under a mountain of land deeds and birth certificates from the 1800s, it happened. We were huddled over a particularly brittle map, trying to align it with a modern street layout. As he reached to point out a landmark, his hand brushed against mine. It was a simple, accidental touch, but it felt like a lightning strike. The entire world just paused. The scratching of my pen, the distant chime of the town clock, the hum of the old fluorescent lights, it all faded into silence. I looked up and he was already looking at me. His eyes, usually so sharp and analytical, were filled with a storm of emotions I knew all too well because I saw the same tempest reflected in my own. In that single silent moment, I realized I didn't just want to know the town's secrets. I wanted to know his. He was the biggest mystery in Serenity Falls, and I was determined to solve him. Later that night, as we packed up, he finally broke the silence that had settled between us, he confessed. His family, the Hawthorns, weren't just some distant relatives. They were one of the original founding families of Serenity Falls, but their name had been erased from the official records, their legacy buried. Why? Because generations ago, his ancestors had tried to expose the very darkness we were now chasing. They were exiled, branded as traitors for trying to tell the truth. Julian wasn't just some helpful historian indulging a journalist's curiosity. This was personal. He wasn't just helping me. He was seeking redemption for his family's name. That confession changed everything. Our investigation was no longer just my story. It became our shared mission. Our late-night work sessions, fueled by cheap coffee and a burning need for answers, began to blur the lines. The professional distance I tried to maintain evaporated. We were partners, poring over ciphers and cross-referencing names. Our shoulders brushing, our hands occasionally meeting over an old photograph. We were falling for each other amidst the ghosts of the town's past, a dangerous, intoxicating, and possibly reckless mix. But in a town built on lies, the honesty we found in each other's eyes felt like the only real thing. But as we grew closer to each other, we also grew closer to the truth, and the town began to push back. Hard. The pressure started subtly, then escalated with terrifying speed. Anonymous threats started appearing. Note tucked under my windshield wiper, written in cut-out magazine letters. Stop digging. My tires were slashed. Then one night I came home to find my small office completely ransacked. Papers were strewn everywhere, drawers pulled out, my laptop smashed. They hadn't taken anything of value, not my wallet or my camera. They were looking for something specific, Elena's journal. Luckily, I had kept it with me. It was a clear message. Someone powerful, someone with a lot to lose, was trying to stop me. They wanted to bury the truth right alongside Elena. The attack only strengthened my resolve. It proved we were on the right track. We doubled down, using the chaos as fuel. The coded journal was our Rosetta Stone. With Julian's help, deciphering the historical references, we cracked it. It led us to a hidden ledger Elena had concealed. The pages detailed a sickeningly intricate criminal network. Blackmail, fraud, embezzlement, all orchestrated by the town's most respected figures. The mayor, the police chief, the Vance family. They were using their power to silence anyone who threatened their perfect, pristine facade. Elena had stumbled upon it, and they had silenced her permanently. We finally had the motive for her murder. But that wasn't the end of it. The biggest bomb was yet to drop. A final clue in Elena's journal, one last incredibly complex cipher, had us stumped. It wasn't a name or a place, but a series of coordinates mixed with what looked like scientific notations. It was linked to a local paleontological dig, a project heavily funded by the Vance family fortune. It was a local point of pride, supposedly uncovering dinosaur fossils from a bygone era. We drove out to the site, a huge fenced-off scar on the landscape just outside of town. From a distance, it looked legitimate. But as we examined the cipher again, Julian, with his encyclopedic knowledge of the region's history, had a sudden realization. The geological strata mentioned in the code, it was all wrong for dinosaur fossils. This area was known for something else entirely. The dig site wasn't for bones. It was a cover. They were excavating something else, something they had been searching for decades. And Julian, his face pale in the twilight, knew what it was. It was proof. Proof of the original sin of Serenity Falls. He explained it to me, his voice low and trembling with the weight of generations of his family's shame. The founding families, the Vances, the Abernathys, the Prescotts, they hadn't built their fortune on timber and trade, as the town's history books claimed. They had stolen it. They had ambushed and murdered the true founders, a small group of prospectors who had discovered a rich vein of gold, a group that included Julian's ancestors. They stole the gold, claimed the land, and founded the town on a bed of lies and blood. And the evidence? The bodies of the original founders and the deed to the land? They buried it all, right here, right under the town's feet, creating a new history for their new town, Serenity Falls. The dig wasn't about uncovering the past. It was about destroying it for good. We weren't just uncovering a modern murder. We were about to unearth the crime that had given birth to the entire town. Thanks for watching. If you're as hooked as I am, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the final explosive chapter of Serenity Falls.